Dilute solutions corrugative properties part 2 presented by G. Satyanarayana Gaud, Assistant Professor, Department of Chemistry, Dr. B.R.R. Government College, Jadcherla. Today we discuss about the problems on Raoult's law, concept of osmosis, osmotic pressure, loss of osmotic pressure and its measurement, determination of molecular weight from osmotic pressure. Let me see the problems on Raoult's law. What is Raoult's law? The relative lowering of vapor pressure of a solution is equal to mole fraction of solute dissolved in that solution. P naught minus P divided by P naught is equal to X2 we said. So based on that, now we solve some problems. Let us see this problem. Problem number 1. When 2.47 grams of non-volatile solute and non-electrolyte solute dissolved in 100 grams of solvent of molecular weight 78. The vapor pressure of solvent was lowered from 75.19 to 74.26 mm. Calculate the molecular weight of the solute. So what is the weight of a non-volatile solute dissolved in the solution? It is 2.47 grams. And also you remember it is non-electrolyte as well as non-volatile because it will not undergo any association or dissociation. The weight of solute is 2.47 grams and this is 100 grams. Weight of solvent is 100 grams and molecular weight of solvent is given, it is 78. The vapor pressure of solvent was lowered from, means this is the vapor pressure of pure solvent 75.19. Finally, after dissolving the non-volatile solute, the vapor pressure reaches to 74.26, means this is vapor pressure of solution. So vapor pressure of solvent is 75.19 mm and vapor pressure of solution is 74.26 mm. So then it asks you to calculate the molecular mass of the solute. So what is the Raoult's law? We know that P naught minus P divided by P naught is equal to small w by small m into capital M by capital W. Here the small letters indicates are given for solute, capital letters given for solvent. So P naught is vapor pressure of pure solvent. How much it is? See, 75.19 mm. P is the vapor pressure of solution, 74.26 mm. Next, we have to calculate the molecular weight of solute M, where the weight of solute is given 2.47 grams. Molecular weight of solvent is 78 grams, that is capital M. The weight of solvent is 100 grams, that is also capital W. Let us substitute these values simply in this formula. P naught 75.19 minus 74.26. 74.26 is the vapor pressure of solution divided by 75.19. It is P naught value again. That equals small w 2.47 by m. Capital M is, what is that capital M? Capital M is, this is capital M by W we have. So here you have to substitute what? 78 you have to substitute. Divided by, this should be 100, is it? 100. Okay. So 75.19 minus 74.26 divided by 75.19, that is equal to 2.47 by small m into capital M is 78. The molecular weight of solvent divided by 100. So then if you solve for this, is that this will be 78 and whereas this must be 100, please correct it. So small m is becomes equal to, on simplifying, it is 155.76. Like this, the values which are given in the problem we have to substitute in the formula in properly, so that we will solve the problem to calculate molecular weight of solute acid. That we can calculate very easy. We see the second problem. The vapor pressure of pure solvent at 298 Kelvin is 23.8 mm. 25 grams of urea is dissolved in 900 grams of water. calculate the relative lowering of vapor pressure. Okay. So what is the vapor pressure of pure solvent? It is 23.8. So that what happened? 25 grams of urea is dissolved in 900 grams. Is it 900 grams? So you have to calculate the vapor pressure. Vapor pressure, RLVP as well as vapor pressure. So let's see the Raoult's law. P naught minus P by P naught is equal to small w by small m into capital M by capital W. You know that the small letters are represented for solute and capital letters for solvent. Let me substitute what is P naught? 23.8 mm. P, this is the vapor pressure of a pure solvent, whereas this is the vapor pressure of solution you have to find out. Since the non-volatile solute is urea, you know the molecular weight of urea, NH2CONH2. It is 60 grams mole inverse. What weight of urea is dissolved? This is small w, weight of solute, small w. M is the molecular weight of solute. So weight of solute, small w is 25 grams. 25 grams of urea is dissolved. The molecular weight is nothing but it is the water, because 900 grams of water. So capital M will be 18. Next, capital W is equal to again 900 grams. Let us substitute 23.8 by P divided by 23.8 is equal to 25 by 60 into. Here this will be again, you see, it is 18 divided by it will be what? 900. Okay. So 18 divided by 900, on simplifying this, we get P is equal to 23.60. This is the vapor pressure of solution. So we have calculated the one of the question, is it? For one of the question, the vapor pressure of solution we have calculated. It is 23.60. What is another thing asked to calculate? RLVP. So RLVP means relative lowering of vapor pressure. What is the equation? P naught minus P by P naught. P naught minus P divided by P naught you have to calculate. So it is equal to 23.8 P naught minus 23.60 divided by 23.8. It will be 0.0084. This is RLVP. There will be no units for RLVP. Okay, so in this problem, capital M is 18. This you have to correct, is it? Capital M is 18. W is equal to not 18. Just it is, the fraction is reversed. Actually, it is instead of 18, you have to write what? 900. Okay, and simplifying, we get 23.60. So that RLVP formula is P naught minus P by P naught is equal to 23.8 minus 23.60 by 23.8. We get 0.0084. Do you know what is the 0.0084? Can you guess? It is nothing but RLVP, or this is nothing but mole fraction of solute. So what is the mole fraction of solute? It is 0.0084 is a mole fraction of solute, or it is RLVP, because according to Raoult's law, RLVP is exactly equal to mole fraction of solute. Okay, these are the few problems we have solved on Raoult's law. Next, you see osmosis and osmotic pressure. What is meaning of osmosis and osmotic pressure? Before discussing the concept of osmosis, let me see about meaning of diffusion. What is meaning of diffusion? Suppose a lower concentrated solution and higher concentrated solution, both of them are mixed together. Is it? So we are mixing two different solutions of same solute, let's say. Two different solutions of different concentrations. When we mix like this, what happens? Now the solute particles will move from low concentration region to, is it? So they will move from high concentration region to low concentration region. How the solute particles will move? The solute particles will move from high concentration region to low concentration region. What we are doing here, we are mixing two solutions of different concentrations. If two solutions of different concentrations are mixed together, then what happens? The process of diffusion will take place. How? The solute particles will move from high concentration solution to low concentrated solution. Like that, the movement of solute particles will take place till a uniform concentration is established. So this is called a diffusion, we say. Mean the phenomenon of movement of particles of a solute from a more concentrated to less concentrated solution has to bring out ultimately a uniform concentration throughout the bulk is called diffusion. Means in the process of diffusion, the solute particles will move from high concentration region to low concentration region till the equilibrium established. What is the equilibrium finally? The equilibrium is nothing but it is uniform concentration. Both of these solutions now settle at a uniform concentration. This is the meaning of diffusion. There we see the movement of solute particles. Okay, so after having the clarity about the diffusion, let me see the concept of osmosis. What is osmosis? In order to understand the concept, let me see this experiment. Is it a container is there? It is divided into two parts by placing a semi-permeable membrane. It is a semi-permeable membrane. Remember, this is a semi-permeable membrane can allow only the solvent molecules throughout and it prevents the passage of solid particles through it. Because the semi-permeable membrane will have the small pores, the size of these pores will be less than the size of solid particles dissolved in the solution. So that it will allow only the passage of solvent, not the solute, that you remember. So now this container is divided into two compartments or two chambers by placing a semi-permeable membrane in this, like this. What is the function of semi-permeable membrane? It can allow only passage of solvent molecule through it, not the solute. Next, in one compartment towards left side, we have taken the water. Another compartment means towards the right side, this part, sucrose aqueous solution is placed. So here the water is taken, whereas here a sucrose aqueous solution is taken. In middle we have semi-permeable membrane. So that what happened, the water molecules will move. The water molecules will move from this solvent compartment to solution compartment in this direction. The solvent molecules move through semi-permeable membrane from solvent compartment to solution compartment. So the spontaneous movement of solvent molecules from solvent compartment to solution compartment through a semi-permeable membrane that we observe here. Okay, this is one of the situation. Next, you see another thing is it here a container is there again. In middle we have placed the semi-permeable membrane. It is again the semi-permeable membrane, this part. One side we have taken the low concentrated solution towards left hand side. Another side we have taken high concentrated solution. So the low concentrated solution and high concentrated solution, both of them are separated by a semi-permeable membrane. So under these conditions, what happened? The molecules of solvent now move from low concentration region to high concentration region through semi-permeable membrane. Means the molecules of solvent which are present in low concentration that will move towards a high concentrated region in this direction again. So that what happened? The volume of the solution towards right hand side, you can see here, is it that is increasing. Volume of the solution is increasing here, whereas the volume of solution towards left hand side is decreasing because the solvent molecules are moving in this direction from low concentration region to high concentration region through semi-permeable membrane. Here we can see increase in the volume of the solution. And one thing you have to observe here, there will be no change in number of solute particles in both sides. There is no change in the number of solute particles both sides because the semi-permeable membrane will not allow passage of solute particles through it. So in these two cases, what we understand? When two solutions having different concentrations are separated by a semi-permeable membrane, then the solvent molecules will move spontaneously from low concentration region to high concentration region through semi-permeable membrane. This phenomenon is called osmosis. So what is osmosis? It is the phenomenon of movement of particles of solute from a it is a phenomenon of movement of solvent molecules through a semi-permeable membrane from low concentrated solution to high concentrated solution. Whereas in the case of diffusion, solute particles will move. In the case of osmosis, solvent particles will move. Are you observing the differences between the diffusion and osmosis? In diffusion, solute particles will move. What is the direction of movement? From high concentration region to low concentration region. In the case of osmosis, solvent molecules will migrate or move. What is the direction? From low concentration region to high concentration region, but this passage will take place through semi-permeable membrane. Okay, so the concept of what is the concept of osmosis? What is meaning of osmosis? It is a spontaneous movement of solvent molecules. There is no any external support. It is spontaneously the solvent molecules are moving through semi-permeable membrane from low concentration solution to high concentrated solution. This is called osmosis. You clear? So in osmosis, solvent molecules will move from solvent compartment to solution compartment through a semi-permeable membrane. That is what you remember. Next, why the osmosis will take place? Why this is happening? Why the solvent molecules are moving from low concentration region to high concentration region? Now we discuss about the reason of osmosis, a reason for osmosis. In order to explain the reason, again we explain this with help of the concept of chemical potential. Remember, the chemical potential of pure solvent will be greater than the chemical potential of solvent which is present in the solution. Similarly, the vapor pressure of the pure solvent will be greater than the vapor pressure of solution. Two things we are observing. One is chemical potential as well as vapor pressure. Chemical potential and vapor pressure, both of these will be greater for a pure solvent compared to the solvent which is present in the solution at same temperature. So the migration of solvent molecules will take place from low concentration concentrated solution to high concentrated solution. Just now we have observed it. Means how the solvent molecules are moving? Low concentrated solution to high concentrated solution. So the solvent molecules are moving from high chemical potential region to low chemical potential region. Is it clear? Solvent molecules are moving from high chemical potential region to low chemical potential region until the chemical potentials of these two, that is the low concentrated and high concentrated, the chemical potentials of these two solutions becomes constant or same. Till to that, what happened? The migration of solvent molecules will take place. So let's say capital A is a low concentrated state, capital B is a high concentrated state. In the low concentrated state, what happened? The chemical potential of solvent will be greater than the chemical potential of solution in high concentration. At low concentration, it is represented by mu1A. High concentration, it is mu1B. Mu1, why we are writing mu1? Because 1 indicates solvent. We will give the 1 number to the solvent. That's why mu1 present in A state is greater than mu1 present in B state. A state represents the low concentrated solution. B state represents the high concentrated solution. So until means this process will take place until the equilibrium is established. Means when the chemical potentials of A and B states becomes equal, then only the movement of solvent will stop. So at equilibrium, what happened? The chemical potential becomes equal. Chemical potentials becomes equal. At equilibrium, chemical potential becomes equal. So let me see the before equilibrium what is happening. Mu1 A state it is. At constant temperature and pressure will be greater than mu1 B at constant temperature, pressure plus pi. So at equilibrium, what happened? Both of these, because the vapor pressure of this solution will be greater than the vapor pressure of this solution. Whereas this is a low concentrated solution, first one, this is high concentrated solution. So that vapor pressure will be less in high concentrated solution. That's why we are adding a factor of pi. So mu1A at constant temperature and pressure is greater than mu1B at constant temperature and P plus pi. At equilibrium, what happen again? Both of these becomes equal. So that the phenomenon of osmosis will be stopped. Mu1A T comma P is equal to mu1B T comma P plus pi. So what is the difference between A and B states? Only the pi is the difference you can see in both of these states, right? So the chemical potentials becomes equal at what we said, equilibrium. When the equilibrium will be established, when the pressures of these two solutions becomes equal, then the equilibrium will be established, right? So what is meaning of osmotic pressure that we discussed now? When a Thysel funnel, just as shown in the diagram, you see inverted Thysel funnel whose mouth is tied here, you see here in this part, whose mouth is tied with a semi-permeable membrane. It is tied with a semi-permeable membrane. It is placed in inverted shape. And now in this, a sugar aqueous solution is taken. A solution is taken in the Thysel funnel. After tying its mouth with the semi-permeable membrane, now a solution is taken in it, and this is placed in a container which is containing a solvent, let's say water. Okay, this red part, this one represent what? Semi-permeable membrane. So what is the content present in the Thysel funnel? Solution is present. Whereas the outside of the Thysel funnel in the container, water, solvent is present. So now the solvent and solution, both of them are separated by a semi-permeable membrane like this. Both of them are separated by a semi-permeable membrane. So that what happened then? The process of osmosis will begin. The process of osmosis will begin. Because of the osmosis, what happened? The solvent molecules will move from solvent to solution compartment. In this direction, you see. This will move in this direction. Solvent to solution. So initially means before starting the osmosis, for example, say the level of the solution is this one. Is it? So when the osmosis begins, after some times, when the equilibrium is established, osmosis will start. Now the equilibrium will establish after some time. After the establishment of the equilibrium, now the solution level is raised up to this mark. Why the solution level is rising? It is because of the movement of solvent molecules through semi-permeable membrane into solution. So because of that, what we say? The level of solution will increase in the Thysel funnel. In this diagram, we have shown that the level increase in level of water or aqua, solution is H. H is it. So H is the height of the column which increased. Height of the solution column which increases. So the solution column which increases will exert the pressure in downwards direction, in this direction, whereas the solvent molecules are moving in this direction. Means two types of processes we can see. The height of the column which increases due to osmosis, that will act down in downward direction, whereas the solvent molecule will tend to enter into the solution from the opposite direction. When these two forces becomes equal, then what happened? The equilibrium will established. At that equilibrium, now we are saying the H is the height of the column. When H is the height of the column, so that we can calculate the extra pressure that arises on the solution due to increase in the height of the column. What is the pressure? Extra pressure? Pi is. Pi is equal to the formula is H rho G. What is H? H is the height of the column, and rho is the density of the solution, where g is the acceleration constant due to gravity. With help of this formula, we can calculate the pressure that increases, the pressure which is developed on the solution. The pressure developed on the solution due to what? Osmosis process, because of the osmosis. So this pi is called osmotic pressure. So what is meaning of osmotic pressure? We can define now it. The hydrostatic pressure acting on the solution side, it is developing on the solution of semi-permeable membrane that is just sufficient to prevent the osmosis is called osmotic pressure of solution. It is a hydrostatic pressure. This H length, H height, is a hydrostatic pressure that is acting on what? Solution, solution, which can just prevent the passage of solvent through because of the osmosis. That is called osmotic pressure. So the osmotic pressure is the pressure developed on the solution to prevent the osmosis. It is represented by pi. The formula to calculate the osmotic pressure is pi is equal to H rho g. What is the meaning of H? It is the height of the column. Rho is the density of that solution column increased. And g is the acceleration due to gravity. Okay, so osmotic pressure means the pressure which just can prevent the process of osmosis. That is called osmotic pressure, represented by pi. Let me derive the equation for osmotic pressure, pi is. Let me derive the equation for osmotic pressure, pi. You see this derivation process. We are deriving that relationship between the osmotic pressure and concentration of solution with help of the concept of chemical potential. So the chemical potential of solvent of solution is a function of what? A temperature, pressure and composition. If we consider a solution, the chemical potential solution of what? Binary solution we are considering. Binary solution means it is containing only two components. One is the solute, second is the solvent. So the chemical potential of the solvent in the solution will be a function of temperature, pressure and its composition. Composition means mole fractions we are expressing. So mu1 means chemical potential of solvent is equal to function of temperature, pressure and its mole fraction. X1 is the mole fraction of solvent. Let's calculate the change in chemical potential, that is du mu1 we are calculating. So that we are partially differentiating this equation. At a time we are differentiating with respect to a variable and keeping the remaining variables constant. So partial differentiation we are observing here. So d mu1 is equal to d mu1 dou mu1 divided by dou t at constant pressure and mole fraction. That is composition. Means you are differentiating with respect to t by keeping p and x constant. So d mu1 by dt at constant pressure and x1 into dt. Right. Next, what about the second one? You have to keep the pressure. You have to differentiate with respect to the pressure by keeping the temperature and x1 constant. That's why plus d mu1 by dp, because you are differentiating with respect to pressure, d mu1 by dp at constant temperature and x1 into dp plus. Third one is also there. What is that mole fraction? You have to differentiate with respect to this mole fraction. For that, temperature and pressure should be constant. So d mu1 by dx1 at constant pressure and temperature into dx1. So this is change in the chemical potential. The change in the chemical potential will be due to the change in the temperature, change in the pressure or change in the composition. But we are saying if the temperature is constant, dt becomes 0. Means this term becomes 0. Now we have only two terms. What is the first term? d mu1 by dp at constant temperature and x1 dp plus second is d mu1 by dx1 at constant pressure, temperature and dx1. So d mu1 by dp at constant temperature and x1 value will be equal to v1. It is equal to v1. d mu1 by dp at constant temperature and x1, that is equal to v1. This we know from the thermodynamics. Okay, so this value is given now as v1. This value is given as what? V1. V1 is nothing but the volume of solvent. Okay. Next we have to calculate for this one. d mu1 by dx1 at constant pressure and temperature. We have to calculate. In order to calculate this second term, now we consider this equation. This equation gives a relationship between the chemical potential of solvent and its mole fraction in the solution. So what is that relation of? It is mu1 is equal to mu naught 1 plus RT log x1. Mu1 is the chemical potential of solvent in the solution. Mu naught 1 is the chemical potential of solvent in pure state, where x1 is the mole fraction of the solvent. So mu1 is equal to mu naught 1 plus RT log x1. So we have to calculate what? d mu1 by dx1 at constant pressure and temperature. So in order to calculate this, let's differentiate this equation with dx1. That's why d mu1 by, or we have to write it as d mu1 by dx1, is it? That is equal to, so differentiation of a constant becomes 0. This will be vanished out. Now d mu1 by dx1 is equal to, it is nothing but, you see, d RT is a constant, d log x1 by dx1. So both sides just you are multiplying with d by dx1. That's all. You are multiplying by d by dx1, both sides. If you multiply both of these by d by dx1, what happens? You see, d by dx1 means d mu1 by dx1, that is equal to, this becomes 0. This becomes d by dx1 of RT log x1. This is the equation, 7th equation we got from this equation. Okay, so now we substitute these values. Now we substitute this first 7th equation as well as this 8th equation in this equation. Okay, so d mu1 is equal to, whereas first term is becomes 0. Why? Because the temperature is 0. What is d mu1 by dp? We said v1 into dp. Okay, d mu1 by dx1, what is the value we got? RT d log x1 by dx1. So RT d log x1 by dx1 and dx1 will get cancelled. Finally we get RT d log x1. ln means base. So what is the equation finally we got? d mu1, change in the chemical potential of solvent, d mu1 is equal to v1 dp plus RT d log x1. Okay, that is change in chemical potential of solvent in the solution we have given. Let integrate this equation, equation number 9, within the limits. So what are the, how the chemical potential is changing? The chemical potential is varying between the limits of P to P plus pi. P to P plus pi, because P is the osmotic pressure of, let's say, osmotic pressure of the solution of low concentration, and finally at equilibrium what happened? P plus pi, a pressure is increasing on the solution due to flow of solvent molecule from solvent to solution compartment. So the limits will be P to P plus pi. Means like this also we can say, P is the pressure of a solution before osmosis, P plus pi is the pressure developed on the solution after osmosis, right? So P to P plus pi, d mu1 is equal to V1 into pressure, again pressure units, integral of P to P plus pi dP plus RT d log x1, integral of d log x1. What are the limits? You see, when a pure solvent is present, its mole fraction is 1. When a pure solvent is present, mole fraction is 1. Here the solvent mole fraction reaches to x1. Is it? So we are integrating within these limits. Is it? What are the limits of pressure? P to P plus pi. What are the limits of solvent? When it is present in pure form, x1 is equal to 1. When it is present in the solution, it becomes x1. So integral of d mu1 means it is mu1. So we are applying the limits. What are the limits? You see, the P plus pi by P means mu of P plus pi minus mu P, higher minus lower, minus lower, that is equal to V1 into integral of P plus pi minus P, because integral of dP is P, integral of dP is P. Now we are applying the limits, P plus pi minus P plus RT, integral of d log x1 is nothing but log x1, so RT log x1. Whereas on applying the log 1 here becomes 0, that's why only we get d log integral of 1 to x1 d log x1 will be only RT log x1. So this is change in chemical potential. But at equilibrium what happened? This mu of P plus 1P, both of these chemical potential becomes equal at equilibrium. That's why this term becomes 0. So 0 is equal to, now we expand V1P, because you remember here P and P will get cancelled. This part becomes 0. So remaining part V1 pi plus RT log x1. Or we can write a minus V1 pi is equal to RT log x1. Just we are shifting this V1 pi towards LHS. Now you introduce the mole fraction of solute here. What is x1? We can write x1 is equal to 1 minus x2. So log x1 is there. Means we can write log 1 minus x2. So this is a series we can expand. The series log 1 minus x2. In that the log 1 minus x2 is becomes only equal to what? Minus x2. Because in mathematics the formula is there. Log 1 minus x will be equal to minus x. Log 1 minus x is equal to minus x. If we expand that series, we get x minus x. But here we have log 1 minus x2. So what will be the value? Minus x2. So minus v1 pi is equal to minus RT. Log x1 is equal to log 1 minus x2 we have given. Log 1 minus x2 becomes x2 minus x2. That's why it becomes minus RT x2. So minus and minus will get cancelled. Finally, pi v1 is equal to RT x2. Pi v1 is equal to RT x2. So pi v1 is equal to RT divided into what is x2? Mole fraction of solute. The mole fraction of solute will be equal to N2 by N1 plus N2, but in case of dilute solution, N2 can be neglected in the denominator. So only N1 will be present. So pi v1 is equal to RT into N2 by N1. This is a final equation we got. So what we did, you see, the chemical potential of the solvent in solution is a function of temperature and pressure and composition. So we are calculating the change in chemical potential of the solvent in the solution. So that the partial differentiation we are doing d mu1 by dt at constant pressure and mole fraction into dt. Mean these are constant and we are differentiating with respect to t. Similarly, then we are differentiating with respect to p by keeping t and x1 constant. Then we are differentiating with respect to x1 by keeping p and t constants. This is at constant temperature, that's why first term becomes 0. Only these two terms will be present. In these two terms, d mu1 by dp at constant temperature and x1 is equal to v1, and d mu1 by dx1 at constant pressure and temperature will be equal to, this is RT d log x1. So we are substituting, this is v1 into dp plus RT d log x1. That is equal to what? D mu1. So d mu1 is equal to v1 dp plus RT d log x1. Then, so we are integrating this equation within the limits. The chemical potential is varying with the limit p to p plus pi, and also the pressure limits are p to p plus pi. The mole fraction limits of the solvent will be from 1 to x1. So we are integrating this equation within the limits which are shown here. So we got finally what? Mu of p plus pi minus mu pi, or mu p is equal to v1 into p plus pi, this one, v1 into p we get it within the limits p to p plus pi. So on substituting the limits, v1 into p plus pi minus p plus RT log x1, where p and p will get cancelled, and at equilibrium both of these becomes equal, so this part becomes 0. Here we got only v1 pi plus RT log x1, but x1 is equal to 1 minus x2 we are introducing, so log x1 becomes equal to log 1 minus x2. In mathematics, log 1 minus x will be minus x, that's why it is minus log x2 we got. Log 1 minus x2 becomes equal to minus x2. Now we substitute in this equation. Minus v1 pi is equal to minus RT x2. Minus and minus will get cancelled. Pi v1 is equal to RT x2. what is x2? Mole fraction of solute. What is the mole fraction of solute? It will be equal to the ratio between the number of moles of solute to the total number of moles present in the solution. That means in the denominator there should be n1 plus n2, but in case of dilute solution, n2 can be neglected. So instead of x2, simply we write now n2 by n1. So final equation we got pi v1 is equal to RT into n2 by n1. Okay, next you see pi is equal to RT by n2 into n1 into v1. Just we are shifting the v1 right hand side. At infinite dilution means very more diluted solutions, n1 v1 is approximately equal to p, volume of solution. We say it is volume of solution. So pi v is equal to, because instead of this we can write v, so pi v is equal to n2 RT. What is n2? Number of moles of solute. Pi is the osmotic pressure. V is the volume of solution. R is the universal gas constant, whereas T is the absolute temperature. So pi v is equal to n2 RT. Or pi is equal to, we can write n2 by v into RT. What is n2? Number of moles of solute divided by volume of solution in liters. V must be taken in liters. So n2 we are observing for n2. n2 is the number of moles of solute. Number of moles of solute is nothing but weight by molecular weight. That's why n2 we, instead of n2 we are writing W2 by m2, weight by molecular weight. Instead of this n2, what you are writing? W2 by m2 into RT by V. So pi is equal to W2 by m2 into V RT. This equation gives a relationship between the osmotic pressure and molecular weight of solutes. Osmotic pressure and molecular weight of solute are related by this equation. What is the equation? Pi is equal to W2 by m2 into V into RT. So what is this W2 by m2 into V, or what is the meaning of n2 by V? It is nothing but the molar concentration, molarity we say. The molar concentration or molarity is represented by C here, C. So now final equation it becomes what? Pi is equal to CRT. Pi is equal to CRT. Pi is the osmotic pressure of the solution. C is the molar concentration of the solution. R is the universal gas constant. But here you have to say solution constant. Solution constant R is, what is the value of R? It is similar to that of the value of universal gas constant, that is 0.0821 atmosphere liter mole inverse and Kelvin inverse. If you are substituting in bars, it should be 0.083 atmosphere liter mole inverse and Kelvin inverse. T is the absolute temperature. So with help of this equation, we can calculate the osmotic pressure. Pi can be calculated. Okay, this is about the derivation of equation for osmotic pressure. Is it? Next, you see this case. Next, we discuss about the laws of osmotic pressure. Is it from the experiments? One half observed, one half proposed this laws of osmotic pressure. From the experiments, what happened? One half observed the certain laws, which are called laws of osmotic pressure. They are observed only in the case of dilute solution. What is the first law? It was Boyle's one half law. What is the meaning of Boyle's law? Boyle's law is nothing but the pressure and volume of this gas are inversely proportional at constant temperature. Pressure and volume of the gas are inversely proportional at constant temperature. That we observe in the case of ideal gases. So in the case of ideal solutions, we can observe Boyle's one half law. What is the statement of Boyle's one half law? At constant temperature, the osmotic pressure of solution is directly proportional to its concentration. This one. At constant temperature, the osmotic pressure of a solution is directly proportional to its concentration. But we know that the osmotic pressure is inversely proportional to 1 by V. Why? Because the concentration is inversely proportional to volume. How the concentration is inversely proportional to volume? Suppose the solution is taken and you are adding the solvent to it further and further, so that what happened, the volume gradually increases. So volume increases, at the same time we observe decrease in the volume. Decrease in the concentration. So concentration and volume are inversely proportional for given mass of solute at constant temperature. So pi is directly proportional to 1 by V. So pi is directly proportional to C, but we know that C is inversely proportional to 1 by V. That's why pi is directly proportional to 1 by V or inversely proportional to V. From this, what we can write now, pi is inversely proportional to V means we can write pi V is equal to constant. So this we observe as very similarity between Boyle's law in case of gases and Boyle's want half law. PV is equal to constant in case of gases. Here we are observing pi V is equal to constant. Want half observed experimentally and verified this law experimentally like this. You see, the concentration of sucrose solution is given in gram per liter, where osmotic pressure pi, volume of the solution, and pi V, we are calculating the product. When 2.02 grams per liter of sucrose is there, pi was, it is 0.134, 0.134, it is 169.3. If we calculate the product of pi and V, 22.7 we got. When 10 grams of sucrose is present in 1 liter, osmotic pressure is 0.66, osmotic pressure increasing. Volume becomes 34.20 and pi V becomes 22.6. And similarly 20 grams, 1.32 is the pi, 17.10 is the V, we calculate. So we get pi V is constant at given temperature. This is called Boyle's want half law, we said is it. Similarly, pressure temperature law. What is the pressure temperature law? We have seen the Charles-Gay-Lussac law. In case of gases, the Charles-Gay-Lussac law is stated as P is directly proportional to T at constant value. Here also we see pi is directly proportional to T at constant value. So pressure temperature law is nothing but at constant value. The osmotic pressure of a dilute solution is directly proportional to observed temperature, means pi is directly proportional to T. Okay, so effect of temperature can be observed here, is it? Temperature, observed osmotic pressure, and we are calculating pi by T. So 273 Kelvin, 7.085. It osmotic pressure, we got pi by T as 0.02594. Similarly, 283 Kelvin, 7.334 is osmotic pressure. If we calculate the ratio, it is 0.02591. 293 Kelvin temperature, again 10 degrees increases there. Osmotic pressure is also increasing, you see. Means as the temperature increases, osmotic pressure increasing, 7.605. Pi by T becomes 0.02595. At 298, it is 7.729 and 0.0259. We will get pi by T constant. This is pressure temperature law. So Boyle's want half Boyle's law and want half Charles law, we say this. This is also called as want half Charles law. Okay, these two laws we call it as want half laws of osmotic pressure. What we have discussed, problems on RLVP, that is Raoult's law we have discussed. We have discussed the concept of diffusion and osmosis and differences between the diffusion and osmosis. How to calculate the osmotic pressure formula, pi is equal to H rho G. Next we have derived the equation for osmotic pressure based on the concept of chemical potential. Next we have discussed the want half laws of osmotic pressure. Among the two laws we have discussed, one is the Boyle's law, second is Charles law. It's a want half Boyle's law, want half Charles law. These two laws we have discussed.